Hey everyone, it's Jeremy Mize. I know you believe I know you know my friend Nate Thomas. He is here to join me again with another movie review discussion. And today's movie discussion is going to be on the movie Atomic Train that came out. And was it 1998, I believe?
It was 99, I think.
All right, thank you. He recommended this movie to me a little while back, and we're finally getting into the discussion today. So, Nate, if you'd like to start us off.
I think we also need to clarify right off the bat that this was a straight to TV movie produced by NBC. And plus, yes, to anyone who asks out there, we sat in Discord for 2 hours and 48 minutes watching the whole thing over one night.
Yeah, it was. I wanted to get into it and like to hear your thoughts on it because sometimes watching movies with other people and hearing their thoughts and feelings on it can really help us to understand it in a way that maybe we can't see it at first by ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
I
Sorry
think,
about that.
yeah, you
Letting
let
off
me
a
know.
cold.
You're good. You let me know beforehand that for this movie, it was good, or it was good for a little while until it started to like fall down and basically like ran off the tracks literally and metaphorically at the last.
Spoiler alert review, guys.
Yeah. Um, this movie, like, and it's true. For a little while, this movie was good. Like, it had you invested. Like, the pacing was good, the characterization good, the acting action was good, and until like that one moment you mentioned to me, when the that big weighted like explosion happened, that's when everything fell apart.
I mean, I only said spoiler alert because not a lot of people know this movie exists. It definitely has its fans. I saw it as a kid on TV. I think actually I used to have the original VHS copy that my grandparents recorded onto it on the TV.
Well, some of these movies that I have discussed and we'll discuss in the future, either first off or maybe again. Some movies aren't as well known as others. This one, as you said, isn't as well known as some of the other movies that I've reviewed, but it's in a good movie for while it lasts until it basically falls apart at the very end.
I think it fell apart near the 2-hour mark. Again, this is a long movie. It's just under 3 hours, and we saw it without commercials, the video I showed you.
Yeah, and it really helped us like keep in tune with the story more than like with what commercials will allow, and being able to follow it like step by step throughout the film help us get it like a the full understanding of how this really flowed uh how it really flowed all together.
I mean, one of my things for this movie is, again, I pointed this out to you, I saw this on not the original version on TV. There was a lot of scenes they cut in the version I actually saw first,
Mhm.
and I pointed that out to you, especially when the train starts going downhill. It's like they cut out several scenes that explained what happened specifically.
Yeah, I think with certain movies when they like cut out certain scenes or they have deleted scenes, it would have been better if they kept at least some of the scenes in. And with what we saw, like how it was all put together, everything was in the movie. It really helped it like keep it up as best as possible.
I mean, I'm gonna try and go in order for this movie since I do have a soft spot for this movie, even though the last third really sucks.
Yeah.
They did as much of practical work with this movie as they could, and you could tell they did a lot of work trying to make it look real.
Yeah, and sometimes practical work works, and sometimes it could have been better done. And for most of the time in this movie, except for the last third, it did really work with the explosions. Well, the action and
I was gonna
everything.
say, cut to that
Y-
scene and
Yeah,
put
yeah,
a
yeah,
thumb shot
yeah,
at that explosion scene in this review.
yeah. I don't know what I was thinking there, but the like the with it like the scenes with like Mr. Jaeger getting onto the train and trying to get things fixed.
Steger,
Oh, sorry.
it's all right. I
I
knew you
know.
were gonna say that. It's all
I was
good.
trying to watch the movie again today, but I couldn't watch all of it unfortunately. And
He has an alcoholic drink. He has a Jaeger.
yeah, and I could have swore it was Jaeger, but
It's good.
it's his like part in the story. While it was like good, it really helped us feel like the matter was really like really as realistic as possible. This wasn't like a really a major action hero like some kind of like highly trained soldier or a spy or whatever. This was like I mean, yeah, he was like a, I guess you could say a professional, but he wasn't like an, really big action star or something. This was just like an, basically like an average guy, doing his job.
Yeah, he works for the NTSB. He just investigates train wrecks and files reports.
And we see that he does his best in the situation as he can, and you have to give him credit for what he did because I mean, a lot of people in that situation, regardless if that was their their career job or not, like it's understandable if somebody would be hesitant or fearful to do that because you're on a moving train with literally a nuclear bomb in it, and not every well he only finds it out until a little later, but
You found out about the, I want to say, the 45-minute mark.
yeah, and but we knew about the chemicals and all the other stuff that was on there beforehand, and that was already dangerous enough. But in his place, like he really like it really stood out to like what he was willing to do, not for not only the people on the train, but also like the city of Denver. Like he went above and beyond what he was able to do.
I mean, I'm gonna get to those. I think we're gonna get some bad stuff in a while because we both tend to have the same problems with this movie. But to
Yeah,
get back on, I want to touch on Seeger. The actor playing that part was Rob Lowe, who's a well-known actor. I think you know him probably from other stuff.
yeah, I know from a few other things.
He just got done playing The Stand a few years prior. It's Stephen King's The Stand, the 1994 miniseries where he was one of the main characters.
I don't think I saw that, but continue.
That is regarded as Stephen King's best miniseries. It's based on one of his most popular books, which is ironic because everybody says Stephen King hates religion and everything he does, yet this story is so pro God early on in his career.
I think there's like with like matter of like religion and God or
Let's not
uh,
get into this. Let's not get into this.
fair enough.
I don't want the
We
comments blowing up on us.
Okay, yeah. And what we see here that like when it comes to the attention to detail and the willingness of the actors to like well or stuntmen, whatever you want to, because some actors do their own stunts. I don't know if that was true here or not, but we saw that as
In some
much as
behind the scenes footage, it was.
hmm, and we see that like these people like these are just average people, doing their jobs and everything. And I mean, yeah, they have very, specific jobs and everything. They do what they can, but there's, not everything is going to go like 100%. Like we see, like the conductor of the train has his hand crushed when he was trying to,
Engineer.
yeah, oh, engineer. Thank you. My knowledge of trains and everything is not really good.
I was
So,
a train kid growing up, dude. It's all right.
all right, fine. That's why I'm really glad you could join me for this discussion.
Conductor was the guy who got sawed in half later in the movie when he fell under the train.
Right, I keep getting them, like, mixed up because he was, like, I thought he was the conductor, but that's
It's
me
easy
not
to get
have
those two mixed up.
yeah, and then like and wasn't the, conductor wasn't his role, like, cut out in the original one?
Yeah, the last time you see him is he just gets off the train, and then in the regular version, he boards the train back to try and solve the problem. He falls off the car, loses his balance, and gets sawed in half.
Yeah, there was a
Uh,
lot of, like oh, go ahead.
Although you do see him later playing a double role, as I pointed out to you.
Right. It's just, maybe that was the one, like, a minor detail that considering what happened later wasn't as, like, as, major in, like, continuity or, like, the, flow and, like, action of the, movie as much, but we did get to see, like, the, seriousness of the situation, like the president of the United States, like, himself, and comes in and, like, is, like, getting, like, updates and, like, advice and counsel on what would best be done in this situation,
It's
and,
played
like
really realistic too. It's not like one side is right or wrong. They want to see what happens.
yeah, I mean, like, in this situation, like, you don't know what you would do. I mean, you literally have people's lives, in your hands, and, he, didn't want to obviously, like, have his, soldiers, like, shoot on civilians, and then there was also the matter of, like, what happens, like, later on, and you wonder, like, in that situation, what is either the best, what maybe is the arguably the best thing to do because it seemed like people were gonna die no matter what.
Looking back, the best thing would have been to derail it the first time they wanted to do it.
I just it makes you feel like, it makes you wonder, like, in some ways, not only what he should do, but maybe makes you wonder what you would do in that situation, like, not knowing what you know before, during, or after, like, if you were in that situation and you knew as much as they knew, what would you feel like would be the best thing to do, or what would you choose to do? Because it seems like it's really a no-win situation.
I hate to say this, but if they derailed it the first place they wanted to, Silver Gorge, it would have been so far away from Denver, and we saw it didn't go off in the derailment later.
Yeah,
There was a likely chance if it did go off there, it wouldn't have even gotten close enough to do any damage. Because they said themselves, this bomb wasn't as powerful as the other ones.
yeah, and it it's the matter of, it's the impending feeling of, doom, or, like, this and destruction that you feel, throughout this movie, because, as powerful, as powerful as it is, regardless in terms of relation to other nuclear weapons, it was still a nuke, and we that all that kind of damage it can do, like, minimal, or, like, lesser than other weapons, it can still do a horrendous amount of damage.
Oh, I'm not saying that, but
Oh, yeah,
I
right.
just keep going. I got you.
No, it's okay. It's the matter of, like, him even, like, getting into contact with the, uh, other characters, and, like, having them, like, discuss, what's the proper, like, procedure, or I don't know if say proper, but, like, the most, um,
I got you.
well, coordinated and executed procedure to do this, like, presents, like, it seemed like the situation was kinda minor-ish at first, even though we had, like, the, start where that I can't remember the character's name, but the one who basically, smuggles the,
Bradshaw.
yeah, who smuggles the, nuke on the train in the first place, and you get this, bad feeling of what it is, and then you go on. It's still like a bad situation as it starts, but when it's, revealed, like, what he really smuggled on there, like, it just gets, like, worse, like, the bad feeling you get just goes, up times 1,000 at least, with, like, the impending, danger.
I mean, for me in particular, since we're just not focusing on plot points, we're just talking about general notes more as our. This is more of our style, guys. We do a review together. We just discuss more points. Unless it's a movie that we have to go plot point by plot point, we're just going to discuss the parts as a whole.
I think with, like, these conversations, a part of it is to be, like, organic, and, like, hear people's thoughts on it, because not everyone is, like, gonna review, like, the same story the same way. Some are gonna focus maybe on a specific character or specific, theme of the film, and some people will just go, like, try to get it as much as a whole, and, like,
Yeah, this ain't scripted at all. We're just making this up right now.
yeah.
We're talking like we talk as we left the theater.
Yeah, and with this, it's like there's, quite a bit to discuss, because, like, but, until it, like, gets to that one part, and after that, beforehand, it was, pretty, a good, movie. Admittedly, this isn't a movie I would honestly go back, watch again and again, but, like, watching it, it makes you feel like it's, worth the watch, and, like, getting in to know the, story and everything. It's just
I think honestly, that final third should get its own second video because we could talk a lot. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in the movie, but the bad stuff, I want to say it's a literal. Again, that's probably gonna be the title of this video, as I said to you, a
yeah,
literal train wreck of a finale.
yeah, and, with
That
this
finale was just it ruined a really good concept that it had going, and it really okay. I'll save that for that because I got a lot of choice words for that.
yeah, the,
Let's talk about the action. We haven't really talked about that.
yeah, what are your, first thoughts on it?
It's good. It's really practical, except for a few shots where they had to use models. They use CGI the least amount possible.
Yeah, we saw a couple of moments, at least, where they used, like I said, model, trains and everything for, like, certain shots of it, like when it's going along the tracks and everything. When it's more of, like, the, wide shots, like you're getting it from, like, a farther view away.
I pointed out to you as well. There's certain moments where they clearly sped up the footage.
Yeah, like that, first, um, I guess, a on-screen death, that we
Oh,
see.
Tucker.
Yeah, like, he, like, he's thrown off and, like, he's, like, rolled onto the tracks, and, he's bloodied up and everything, and, like, he's obviously, like, still reeling from that, and, like, you wouldn't really get up or immediately in the situation like that. It's just, like, a little bit farther away, it's like, at first, it's shown, like,
I pointed out to you, it looked like it was clearly stopped in the shot.
yeah, or at the very least, it was farther away than it was a few seconds later.
Then 2 seconds later, it literally goes like this. It rounds the corner, and then 1 second later, it's just completely on him. I know trains move fast and all, but it would have taken at least a good 10 seconds more for it to get there.
And it's arguable he could have, like, gotten away or off the tracks in that time. It's just,
There's
there's a
not enough time. I think one of the pros and cons of this movie is the editing with some of the action scenes. Is you and I pointed that out in particular in the ending, which we'll do a second video on.
yeah, and it was there was also the next scene of where they were those guys were, like, putting, like, dirt and everything to try and, like, stop
That was
or, like.
before Tucker. That was before Tucker's scene.
Oh, I got 'em, mixed up. Yeah, thank you.
No,
It
it's okay. Like because that was a second. By the way, plot hole. Why didn't they tell them they put sand on the track farther when Tucker got thrown off? Because remember, it hit sand, jolted the train, and he was on the back messing with trying to get the brakes hooked up or whatever.
Yeah, it's, there was a couple of moments where, like, communication probably could have, like, really literally, saved lives in the films or, like, really help with but I guess they had to, like, get in the matter of, like, this more like, really, zero in on, like, how serious this is before with, like, at least one or 2, deaths at the very least with it.
I'm not denying that, but my point was like eventually, especially in a railroad emergency. Like again, if anybody out there works in the railroad industry, please correct me if I'm wrong here. I might have been a train buff as a kid, but I've grown out of touch a little bit. Don't they have to inform them before they do something like that? Because they informed them about the first one, obviously.
Right.
I don't see how they could have forgotten that second one. Again, it didn't even look like a real sand pile, so
I don't was it wasn't even like, was it even
but it looked
discussed
like
by.
black dirt, but he says into the phone while he's like, more sand. It's hard to tell, but what he says.
I actually didn't get to that part of my second, viewing today, so, sorry, I'll take your 'cause, this is the second time I've, watched the, film by today, but, yeah, the, matter of, like, lack of communication or, like, it was something that, I don't know, was you maybe it was like a script error or an editing error, it's hard to say, or maybe they, I don't know, maybe they maybe the
It
director
didn't
and
look like
writers.
it was edited wrong. It didn't look like anything was cut there.
It's just maybe they forgot to write a, couple of lines in for that. It's hard to say.
That guy got a pay. That guy got a pay deduction.
I mean, it's a matter that maybe some people, like, wouldn't see at first because, like, with your, love of, trains and everything, it's something that you would notice maybe more than some others, like, me, I don't think I noticed it first, but you, like, let me know, like, not long after it had happened.
I mean, to touch on trains real quick, the train starts going downhill obviously because there's a fire in the engine, which knocks off the air brakes. One of my biggest things, I don't want to say this is a pro, this is a con because again, it's a movie. I gotta understand the logic of the movie's gonna work. But when there's a movie I'll bring up later that did this scenario a lot better, and I still like this movie we're talking about right now. Again, I'll get to that movie in a little bit because it did it really a lot better, and it's one of my favorite films.
Mhm.
When the train's air brakes go out, Wally says over the radio when he's notifying them when Seeger hears it over his walkie because he's a railroad guy. He says, "My brakes are gone and my dynamics will not hold." The air brakes, yes, I can understand that because they clearly went out and the hose got disconnected. Like you see the hose get disconnected because of the pressure of the fire, like
Yeah,
the air got.
that was didn't mean to interrupt, sorry.
Oh, you're good. I thought you were gonna say something. I'm sorry.
No. It was like that was, kinda early on in the part because that was one of the main things that really, you noticed that was, like, going wrong with the train, and
To be
it had
fair though, I can buy them not noticing that because it was such a small thing. You'd have to look really hard to notice that. But the train himself, when he says the dynamic brakes weren't working, I do kind of question that admittedly because the air brakes and the dynamics are two different systems, and it didn't say the engine itself wasn't working. Okay, train geek out moment here.
That's okay.
Air brakes work by the air going through the hoses and they push the cylinders against the wheels, like the blocks against the wheels to stop the train. The dynamic brake harnesses the magnetic field within the engine itself, so it stops the train. So the air brakes stop the train as a whole, but the dynamic brakes stop just the engine. Well, they can both do either, of course, but again, that was one of the main things that's caused an actual train derailment in '89. Like there was miscommunication between the brakes and stuff like that. That was a whole nother thing. But you really think, why didn't he just slam on the emergency brakes? Even without the air brakes, that would have still stopped it.
I think sometimes in situations like people like panic and like really stressful and or dangerous situation and like we don't always like think clearly or like think as like effectively as we should because like we're our worry and we're stressing so much that we are just like that's what we're so focused on. Like some people can think calm and cool under pressure. Some have a little more issues with it, I think.
I mean, they said he was a long time engineer, like a veteran, and I think a standard procedure if something goes wrong and both brakes aren't working, you slam on the emergency brakes. Because again, because of that derailment in '89 and eventually a later one in 1990, I want to say it was '94 or '96, where train went down on the same rail line the first one did. It became standard issue to deploy emergency brakes so to make sure they were working.
Maybe that was another like detail that was forgotten or maybe uh, it was my first guess is it was possibly, like, forgotten in the writing and directing of the movie.
Again, we know it's a movie, but when there's things like that that really do stick out a little bit, like maybe if they said, "Oh no, like the dynamic brakes, the part of that the engine got damaged, so then we can't use that, and that controls everything else. We have basic control, but we don't have any braking at all."
Yeah, like, what also makes, a story, good and effective is having those little details in there that's, presented or, discussed in a way that maybe that's not overly dumb, but, like, is addressed to a point to where, like, you know that they're there and that and what role they have in it.
Yeah, really, because I know details can't always make or break a film. Like, there's always going to be some minor things.
Yeah,
Like even Marvel is guilty of that, where the little things don't always add up, but the whole usually works.
yeah.
Until Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, I said it, MCU fans. Multiverse of Madness was the last good movie. Deal with it. But to get back on point, this movie, when it really missed, especially in the last third, I take that back. For the first two thirds, the misses weren't that major.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I can see you raising an eyebrow. You good?
No, no, it was, um, I was just, wondering what you were gonna, say exactly
Oh,
because,
I thought I was going on too long.
no, 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 it's a matter of, since a part of what this, film is because you were the one who introduced me and requested it, and you know more about, trains and everything. I'm more so, like, really following, your, lead in this discussion, to be honest.
I mean, we don't even really need. We've already touched on the characters. They're all just kind of there. There's not really much going on.
Yeah, I mean, we have, like, the, family dynamics, with, uh
It's there. It's passable.
we have like the new marriage, the step siblings and children. The daughter doesn't really like her stepmother. The stepson doesn't really like his stepfather very much. But time goes on, they learn to like accept each other and everything. And like then we have the
Cop. I forget his name.
yeah, I can't remember his name either.
Let's call him TV cop, who's at least a good actor and at least is fascinating.
Hmm,
Did they
I,
even give him a name? I can't remember.
I think they did. I just honestly can't remember at the moment because remember that because
Wikipedia in the editing.
yeah, it was it's my fault because it's like I said, I only watched it that time we watched
I
it
don't
together
remember
and
either.
some of it, today, and, that's a fault of mine. I think for certain things and certain stories and everything, I'm gonna maybe focus on more than others, just maybe that's my autistic selective interest maybe,
Same
but
here. But yeah. Um, since I think the good part of this movie is gonna be a lot shorter review than the last one, because the last part of the movie is gonna have its own review. I will say this as as a lead into the bad stuff, because I think we've touched on everything good.
Yeah, in some sense, I mean, I didn't get to the bad part in my, rewatch today, unfortunately, but,
You're in for a doozy.
I mean, I can remember some details and everything, some specific details, like how when it starts and, like, other aspects of it, but,
The horrible CGI background that they
eh,
show multiple times, like they're proud of that effect.
I don't know, it was,
Please, by the way, get in editing. This is a teaser for that part video since we're doing this like on separate recordings. Please get a screenshot of when that one guy gets blown off his feet by the explosion and nobody else are next to him cares at all. Remember, I
right, that
froze it and pointed that out to you.
yeah, but yeah,
It was such a horrible shot because the guy's like nobody else behind him even reacts.
but this, will probably wrap up, like, the, discussion of the, I guess you could say the good or, acceptable part of the, movie right now because I mean, there is some good stuff in this movie, the action, like the,
Practical effects on the train.
and like the, story and dilemma the president has in the story, while the train, hasn't literally exploded yet, but yeah, I think for like,
The music
si
was also really good.
huh?
The soundtrack was also really good.
Yeah, it was, for most part, up until that last, 3rd, part of the movie, this was a,
Didn't they cut out most of the music in that part? I don't remember there being that many musical notes, like orchestral music in the third part of the movie. I don't remember that much.
I can't admittedly at the moment either. But our focus was more on the, story and other specific
Well,
aspects
music
of
can help make a story better. That's why I was
right.
asking.
Alright, right, agreed.
It's like if
I
you take the theme of, it's like if you take Rocky's theme out of the movie Rocky.
yeah. It's just certain, like, some scenes can actually do well without music, just depending on, like,
Oh
how
yeah.
it's, like, presented and everything. But yeah, music definitely helps. But do you have any other thoughts for, this, part of the, review?
All I'll say is, guys, it's been a relatively smooth ride, but we're about to go downhill, just like the atomic train.
Literally and metaphorically. Okay, now let's get into the, next part here in just a sec.